Hey, what's up? Welcome. You are listening to TC the G Radio Season 4, Episode 3. I am TC the G, broadcasting directly from Tijuana, Baja California. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to have a great time. The title of today's episode: Atheism. Okay, so I decided to speak about atheism today because I took an Uber ride home, I think it was like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and the driver, he was listening to a radio station, and the radio station was talking about witchcraft and santeria stuff, right? So the episode was basically saying that people who don't believe in santeria or witchcraft, that usually those are the people that get like hit with it the most, because this is what the podcast was saying, right? Or whatever the show or whatever we were listening to was saying, is that they're the easy target because they don't believe in it. So kind of like they're not protected in a way, you know? So the person on the radio, that was, the talk show host on the radio, he was saying that he was also saying that if you believe in God, then of course you have to believe in witchcraft, in the devil, you can say, right? Because there's some people that they're like, oh, you no creo en eso, I don't believe in that, I don't believe in that. But yet then you turn around and then you say that you believe in God, you know? So it's like if you believe in God, then by default, you must also believe in the devil, right? And evil. You believe in good, which means you alternatively, you should also believe in evil, right? So okay, so the show was was geared that way, was headed that way, or the topic was about that, and so then I told him, I was like, wow, that's a crazy show that we're listening to, right? And he was like, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, it's crazy, it's crazy. He was like, I'm an atheist, I don't really believe in that, but I have seen some people that have been victims of witchcraft. He said, so I think he kind of like hinted that he had respect for it, or like fear, I guess you can say, like something like along those lines, you know? So then I told him, I was like, in reality, because I also experienced that. I experienced that. The show was saying that some people get like, people want to, los quieren como embrujar, like they want to do witchcraft on them. So usually what people do to do that is they give them food. That people, the majority of the time that they get witchcrafted on, that usually is through the food. Like they'll put the witchcraft in the food, and then you'll like, I guess they'll bless the food in a way that kind of like curses the food, And then when you eat that food, well, that curse, that witchcraft goes in your body, and then you become, you know, the, I guess you can say victim. I don't really like using that word, but I guess you can say, you become the target of it. That's a better word. You become the target, and then you eat it. Now it becomes part of you, and now you're amarrado. Now you're witchcrafted. Now witchcraft has been applied to you, and it has been successful. So I was telling him about a couple of times when that has actually happened to me, when I have gone to people's houses and then I have eaten their food just, because they offer me food and chido, let's eat. But after a while, like I started getting a headache. And when I got home, I threw up. And I realized that that's what it was. They were trying to hoax me. They were trying to, do that to me for whatever reason. The people that I was eating with, it was music related, so maybe they wanted me to just stick around and be part of their team. I don't know exactly what it was, but they must have seen something that they wanted in me, right? That it made them go that to that extent to want to like amarrarme or hacerme brujería. You know what I mean? So, but it didn't work because when I got home, I threw up. So I told the guy that was driving, I told him, at the end of the day, it really depends on your connection with God. It really depends on your connection with God. If your connection with God is great, it doesn't matter what people want to do to you. It doesn't matter what food you eat. It doesn't matter if they pray with 1,000 freaking saints against you. It doesn't matter because you are protected by God. And God is the main, number one. Él es el mero mero. So it doesn't matter what they do because your connection with God is what protects you. And then so then he said, he was like, oh, well, if that was true, then there would be no sickness and things like that. And I was like, I didn't get too much into it with him about sicknesses and things like that, but he was saying that he hinted that if you believe in God, like you don't need to take medicine, right? Some people believe it in that though. Like if you're a religious person, a lot of religious people like they don't believe in like taking medicine, doing blood like transfusions, is that what they're called? And like taking medicine and all that stuff, right? Because they think if you're meant to be here, that you will be here. Like, you know? And I told them, you know what? It doesn't that's not like the right way to see it. I kind of like to my point of view, I told them because if you're sick, you should definitely take the medicine, you know? But, you know, the thing the thing that happens there is that you take the medicine and you have faith that you will get healed, of course. Anyway, let me see. Let me go back a little bit. I think I messed up right there because what I meant to say was that um let's see. He did say that. He did say about the medicine and okay that they were kind of like he was kind of like hinting that there will be no sickness, right? But in reality, like at the end of the day, our bodies are a machine. You know, it's a machine. If it needs maintenance, if it's not handled properly, it breaks down. It's susceptible to getting sick. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. It just means that our body is a machine. And like any machine, it can break down. You know, that's really all there is to it. It's not that if God was real, there would be no sickness. I have also heard some people say like, "Oh, if God was real, there will be no suffering." It's like, homie, like no es que no, it's not that because God exists, there should be no suffering or there should be no evil. The thing is that it's like this, right? When you're a parent and you have children, right? Of course, you're a parent, you have children. Duh. Okay. So if your child is already an adult, right? You are going to let them make their own decisions. You're not going to get involved with their decisions. Because why? Because they're already adults, you know? Some people, of course, there's always an exception to the rule, right? There's some parents that get involved, but we know that that's not too healthy, right? People are supposed to have their own autonomy. They're supposed to be able to make their own decisions. So that's pretty much the scenario that I gave to him as well. I was like, just it's the same for God. He's not going to get involved in our doings, in our fights, in our world because that's not his place. This is the human world, so it's up to us humans to solve and fix our problems. What God does, he protects us and guides us if we call upon him. But he doesn't live for us. Like he doesn't what I mean by that is that he is not the one that's going to go and make your decisions, your choices. That's why we have free will. It's up to you to create your own destiny, your own choices. Of course, there's some things that, like they say, it's meant to be and things like that. Yes, of course, there must be some truth to that as well. But overall, we are in charge of our destiny. We choose who we want to be, right? And just like that, everybody has the same option and the same option. I've also heard another guy tell me one time the same kind of like similar thing, right? Like the same thing, the same similar thing, and I had to tell him the same thing because I think sometimes people get confused about that, like, oh God, if God was real, then none of this would exist. Like that's not how it works. It's not how it works. There's good and there's evil, and you have to choose your side. Now, if you choose good, you better act good and not be a hypocrite, because if you're just saying you're good, but you're not acting with righteousness, with values, then karma is going to keep giving you what you're giving to the world. The real you, what you're really doing. So people just say, I'm good. So people just want to look like they're good. They just want to say they're good, and then they just want to look like they're good. But they're not really being good from their core, from their heart. Some people even hide and they take advantage that some people don't call them out and things like that. And but when the truth comes out, you know and it just karma comes back to bite you is what I'm trying to say here. Karma comes back to bite you. It doesn't matter if you fooled me, if I fooled them to think that I'm a good person. Yeah, you fooled us, but does that what does that do to you? What did you win with that? You're supposed to be a good person from your core, or at least work for that, because again, karma will get you, right? And that's not like, oh, fear. It's just more of a, you choose your destiny. And if you're choosing to do bad, then don't cry when bad things happen to you. You know, that really grinds my gears when people are like, "Oh, like you're crying now. You're crying, but you chose that. So why are you crying?" You know what I mean? Like you're a grown up. We all know what's right and wrong since we're little. Even TV tells us what's right and wrong, right? Las novelas and like all that shit. We know what's right and we know what's wrong. You made your decisions. Now you have to lay in the bed that you made and stop your crying. Sin llorar, you know? You chose that. Hey, be a man, be a woman, stand up. That's what you chose. Deal with it. Handle it. And that's it, you know? But anyway, so the back to the atheist guy, where he was saying that about people like that they don't need that. If that was true, if God was real, then people wouldn't need to take medicine or anything like that. So I told him, you people are supposed to take medicine, of course, but there's also such thing as a, if it makes sense, some people don't like to take medicines. Like me myself, I don't take medicine either, but I know if I'm feeling very sick, I should probably give it a try. Now, depending of how I feel after I take the medicine, I'll decide if I'm going to continue or not. And this is not to give anybody like health advice or like like physician advice or medical advice. This is just me what I do. Like if I'm feeling very sick, like of course I'm going to have to go to the doctor if I'm feeling very very sick. And if they give me a medicine, I'm going to have to take it because that's part of trying to get better, right? It doesn't mean, oh, because I believe in God, I'm not gonna take that. Like no, that's not what it means. If you believe in God, then you should. If you believe in God, then you should know that you need to help yourself. That's what the Bible says. You have to help yourself before you can help other people. Helping yourself means taking care of yourself, including whatever medicine was prescribed to you. You know, I don't take medicine for little things like colds and things like that because that's not necessary. That really is like to me, that's definitely not something that I need medicine for. I can definitely get better on my own with rest, eating un caldito de pollo or caldito de res. It's mainly rest. When we get sick, it's our body telling us that we need to rest. That's pretty much what it is. That's pretty much all there is to it. We're overworking our bodies to the point that they become sick. And of course, there's other things, right, that play, maybe your DNA, maybe the food that you're eating and things like that. But overall, we need to make sure that we do we do everything that we can to get ourselves back to a healthy state, right? And that includes, of course, taking medicine if you need to. And again, okay, so now going back to that. So when I take medicine, when I take it, I study my reactions, my body. How does my body feel? Do am I having any like whatever it is, anxiety, whatever, Or am I feeling like nauseous? Am I feeling dizzy? Just to see how my body is reacting to the medicine. And if it's not a good reaction, then that means that I should stop taking it. That's pretty much what it comes down to. And then that's it. Next step, and you move on. But and then okay, so then after I told him that, he kind of like tried to get like defensive about it. That's usually what happens with people who have like such fixed like beliefs in their mind, or just people that are barely trying to figure it out, like they become kind of like defensive and they want to fight over their or their thoughts and things. I don't fight over my ideas or what other people's ideas are. I just share my idea, and if you agree, cool. If you don't, pues también está cool. Like doesn't matter. I'm just telling you my life experience. We're just sharing ideas. We're just exchanging it. It's not to be taken personal. Everybody has their own life. Everybody has their own path. But anyway, he dropped me off here at work, and he was like, "Oh, I'm glad that this is the good thing about having conversations that not everybody thinks the same." And like I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, cool, cool, cool." But you can tell that the vibe was different when he was trying to like fight back about it was like he changed his tone. It was more like defensive. Even though he said at the end, "Oh, it was good," it was not feeling too good when I was like, trying to have a conversation with him. He was getting defensive. But anyway, so this kind of like reminded me of another time when I was a couple of years back. I was working with a guy, and he said he was an atheist, and another guy was working there as well, but he was a believer, right? So we were both talking about believing in God and like things like that, and then the guy said that he doesn't believe in God, the atheist, right? So I kind of brought up to them. I was like, it's funny to me when I hear people say atheist because I think that's kind of like a thing that spoiled brats say, like I don't believe in God. Like I, people that really know God, are people who have really had like hit bottom, like rock bottom, Only when you go through something really like freaking like destructive, that's the point when you really like put your faith in God, in a higher power. That's when you really lose control and you're like, dang, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, Diosito. Like, help me figure this out. When you hit rock bottom. And it doesn't have to be like rock bottom. It could be like a very traumatizing event. But that's pretty much, I guess, that could be considered rock bottom as well. But, when they, when I told them that, it was more like for them to understand that God is like a safe space, like a haven, right? And people who don't understand that, who don't understand God, usually it's because they haven't gone through anything deep. They haven't gone through much suffering. Because God is the one we go to when we have a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. That's who we find refuge in, usually. Because humans, a lot of the times, they don't understand that kind of love, right? Or that kind of, yeah, I guess you can say that kind of love. Like, a lot of the times we don't feel like we can really like open up to other people around us for whatever reason. It could be personality mismatches or we don't get along or whatever, but we know that we can go to God and there will be no judgment, right? It will be an open conversation. So that's usually what I was trying to tell him, like when people go through hard times, like very, very hard times, those are the times when people have to look for God. So the people that believe in God, like really believe, not the ones that go to church and they act like they believe and then they go home and they cheat on their wife. Like that's not what I mean. Like when you really believe in God, that's your middle, your number one. That's because you've been through some shit. You've been through some shit. You've been through some shit. You have been through some shit. That's why I don't believe in God. To me that seems like just like something a brat would say, like you're just a brat. Like you have had a very great life to the point that you don't feel like you need God. You have been that much in control of your life. Your life has been that set up for you that you have had no need to look for God. Until you really go through some hard shit, that's when you're going to be like, damn, Diosito, where are you? Diosito, help me. Guide me, protect me. So that's really that's really what, and I kind of like, I feel bad when I kind of told them that because it was kind of like tough love. And I didn't want to like offend them by calling them like spoiled brats, but it was something that I felt like I had to say for them to really understand and get the point, like for me to illustrate the point, how God is not just like, like, of course you don't believe in God because you probably have not gone through anything, and that's not to be held against them, hey, they've been lucky enough to have their life figured out, maybe, I mean, I don't know how lucky that is, I don't know, but to me, knowing God, that's the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Because without God, I'm nothing. Without God, I am nothing. Sin Diosito, no soy nada. Nada, nada, nada. Like, I've been through some hard stuff, and I have shared some things here in the podcast and other podcasts as well. Like, from my childhood, growing up in, like, in a house with my mom was a prostitute and things like that, So, I have had a very tough life, and the one that has always been there for me has been, Diosito, That's who has given me strength. That's who has shown me the path. And of course, I'm not saying I'm perfect or things like that, and nobody is, But the point again was that God is a protector, it's a refuge, not protector, but yeah, he's a protector, but like he is the one who we find refuge in when we're feeling at our very lowest point. Thank you so much for tuning in to TC the G Radio. I hope you enjoyed this episode. What are your thoughts on atheism? Let me know. Comment, like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay in the loop. Remember to tune in to TC the G Radio Wednesdays at 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also connect with me on social media to get more of me and my music. My social media and contact information are on the video's description. Again, thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in and for allowing me to share this time with you. Take care, Saludos.